but more so the mockery of Ballmer. I think there's been some NBA media softness right now.
Well, there's a softness that occurs for two reasons, right? The one reason is the obvious reason, which is I don't want to mock someone who is so financially successful he makes his peers not his peers, right?
Yeah.
In other words, when he says they con me, the dog whistle there is that, look, I'm the smartest, brightest, most innovative among you, and I fell for it. How could anyone like hold me accountable to that? And people say, well, he is, but he's rich, so he must be right. The second level, I think, is a more specific level, and I think it is, to use your word, germane. Not Tito, not Michael, but germane to this conversation about the investigation. Whether you're talking from the perspective of Adam Silver, the other owners in the NBA, or the media who are covering it, which is Steve Ballmer, relatively speaking, seems like an awesome guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he's very nice, he's very friendly, he is what we wish all the owners were like.
Yeah.
And so there's a part of this in the same way that you and I used to joke about the Doc Rivers press conference. And Doc Rivers would say, hey, you'd ask a question, what a very smart question. Doc would butter up the person who asked the question. That's a really smart question. So they feel good.
No. Key element, I mean.
Yeah.
He says the name after complimenting the question.
I know who you are.
Part.
The subtle, I know who you are, basically. Oh, that's a great question, Ethan, right? So he does that, and what that does is makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and so you are less likely to be critical, whether it's a conscious or a subconscious decision, less likely to be critical over someone you deem to be a swell dude. And we're stupid, just like the stupid dogs are bred to, like, you need us, you need that validation, right? We're bred as a species to be nice to people who are nice to us, despite whatever evidence says otherwise. And I think that's what's happening here too. The softness of the coverage, the lack of like teeth in attacking Steve Ballmer, and some of the, quite frankly, ridiculous defenses they've thrown out there, is because he's a good dude who's cool to people, and people don't feel great about attacking that guy.
I expected to ask you about this later on, after we set the stage of what happened, because we are now recording the day after Clipper Media Day, the day after you and Pablo recorded this latest chapter in his investigation with new revelations into the aspiration Kawhi Leonard Michigas. And I thought I would get into this later on, but it's this question that a lot of people have, which is everybody I talk to in the NBA, and I'm curious if you've had the same experience, everybody I talk to says he's guilty. Steve Ballmer's guilty. He's guilty. They might come up with theories, but that's what everybody I'm talking to says. And then the follow-up question is, if that's a prevailing belief, maybe we don't have to be absolute about it and say everybody, but let's say the majority. Where's the anger? Why aren't other owners speaking out? Why aren't other people taking shots? And I wonder if it's what you said. You said he makes his peers not look like peers. I wonder, we might see them all on the same level, but if a Steve Ballmer talks to another owner and does the whole Doc Rivers, oh, that's a great question, Tillman.
Yeah.
Does Tillman Fertitta go, oh, Steve Ballmer? You know?
Right. So,
Steve Ballmer, nearly $200 billion. Ooh.
So it's, I think there's a level to that Steve's always been cool with me, and Steve and also not to mention the reason why you want to get in this club, the club of 30, is because now you have 29 people that you can call on to do all sorts of side business deals that have nothing to do with basketball, and it basically opens a whole new line of credit. So I think there's a part of it, like, you don't want to, I don't want to say anger, but you want to cross the guy who's worth more than the next 10 to 12 owners combined. The other part, though, is, and this is this is where the speculation runs heavy, is typically when we have big, high-profile cases, what ends up happening is there are amendments to the documents that govern our sport. It's as a reaction to this. And I think people are worried, owners are worried. If we go for the whole pound of flesh from Steve, we might get it. But then we might have created a situation where we're all screwed now. Or all these little loopholes and things exist.
Yeah, the Tarkanian, they're so mad at they're so mad at Kentucky they're going to slap another 2 years on Cleveland State.
Yeah.
I think there's that worry that they're going to be looking into everything and did any of these players in the Thunder get a free meal at Mahogany Steakhouse? We got to look into that. And it's not going to be the spirit of the law. I do think there is that fear.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but to me, I keep going back to the collective bargaining agreement, and I marvel at how much foresight the lawyers who wrote it had. In Article 13, I practically know it by heart now, but like for there to be a specific piece of nomenclature, I guess is the word.
Ooh,
right?
Fancy.
Thank you. I'm trying. I prepped today. But that says specifically, here it is, compensation from sponsor/business partner/third party substantially in excess of the fair market value of any services to be rendered. I think that, to me, that's the line. There's the other line that talks about like if it can't be rationally explained. That those two lines in tandem is what puts a noose around this and suffocates it, right? Because this isn't a murder trial, right? You don't have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. And number two, you like I did that, A and two, the concept of services compensation substantially in excess of the services rendered, and in this case, if, to use your example, the Oklahoma City Thunder players have been having free steaks or free drinks at Big Riches or whatever, right? Even that would imply some sort of kind of like, but they made an appearance.
Yeah.
They showed up, and those were the services rendered. And we could argue about what substantial compensation for that is. What you cannot argue is the compensation that Kawhi Leonard got compared to the services rendered, which were zero, including perhaps what would be the most important part of any partnership. Ethan, if you had a partnership with Sirius XM Radio, so announcing my partnership with Sirius XM Radio, what would be the first thing you would want out of that partnership?
You've led me to a question. I feel like I'm too stupid to understand what you want me to say right here.
You just signed a deal with Sirius XM Radio.
Money. I would just say money.
Well, no, you're getting the money. You're getting the money, but what's the first service? The service rendered.
The first service that I want from. Okay, just explain it. I'm doing a bad job. Explain it. I'm too stupid to follow the train of thought.
You want them to say the goddamn name of the show. Hey, we're doing this.
Yeah.
You would want them to announce it.
Here's what happened. This is such a crazy arrangement that I couldn't even see what you were asking me because it would be so taken as a given that I didn't even think. Like I thought beyond that. Yes, of course. Sorry.
If I'm this hotshot thing that we want to be affiliated with, would do they want to say that out loud? Press release? A tweet? An Instagram post?
The secret endorsement. It's like the In-N-Out menu. It has an alert.
Exactly. The secret menu, where the most expensive item is also the item that you never get. Like, even the In-N-Out secret menu, I can order the shit and I get it, right? Regardless of how much it costs, I get the actual burger. Like, imagine that. You pay like a premium more than everything else on the front of the menu, and then I don't get shit. And I'm like, wow, what's the big deal?
It's some sort of truffle burger with lobster on it that they'll just deny even knowing about if you do bring it up. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. And I feel like I'm being gaslit right now. I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. I just was wondering if you're thinking similar thoughts right now. you have this latest installment that shows that Ballmer in December of 2024 made a donation to the charity of one of the co-founders of Aspiration, which, had he been conned and felt so horrible about being conned, would be a curious choice. That'd be very strange.
This goes back to what we say, like that other clause in the collective bargaining agreement I was talking about, and this time I will read it in verbatim, right? Is the idea that something is may be proven by direct or circumstantial evidence, including but not limited to evidence that a player contract or any term or provision thereof cannot rationally be explained in the absence of conduct violative of the sections above, right? So basically saying there's no rational way to explain away this, what might be circumstantial evidence. Right, so the circumstantial evidence is what he's a philanthropist. This is a charity that it does good work and all that stuff. Like, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is, again, imagine one of the people who got scammed by Bernie Madoff months later donating to Bernie Madoff's charity. Like, it doesn't. There's no real rational explanation where you can accept it. And you say you feel like you're being gaslit. I don't, until I read people's comments or I hear Mark Cuban. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
It's crazy.
There were people who listened to Kawhi Leonard yesterday and said, yeah, you tell him. What did he say?
He said that's why you're bringing up old stuff. That was effectively the defense. Yeah. And it's just insane to me. And it feels a little bit like that scene from the Chappelle show where they're doing jury selection and Chappelle doesn't want to find R. Kelly guilty of the peeing crime.
It was Michael Jackson.
Oh, it was the Michael Jackson. No, they did two of them. They did an R. Kelly.
That's right. Yeah. You're right.
Everything he would need to see. I need to see this. I need to see that. I need my boys watching. I need Neil Brennan taking notes on it. I need, video. I need his grandma there. And we're in the zone right now where the Clippers are saying NBA investigation. We're confident we did nothing wrong. And what's driving me a little crazy, I don't want to be too critical of people who are still in the game and they're covering these teams, but I'm just yelling questions when I'm watching these snippets of Clipper Media Day. I don't need the NBA investigation. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. Why are we waiting for an investigation to conclude? If you guys didn't do this and you didn't do salary cap circumvention, you can explain that. That's pretty easy to explain.
That's where you and I
really
divert. Yeah, because Ethan, if there's an investigation, even though this isn't a legal matter, for intents and purposes, the Clippers of Kawhi Leonard within the ecosystem of the NBA, this is illegal. This is an NBA legal matter, and as a result, as your representation, don't say anything. I'm surprised, quite frankly, Kawhi said as much as he did. I would have if I were Clippers PR and Lawrence Frank and everyone else, I would have sat everyone down and said, look, this is the line. This is an open investigation. We look forward to the findings, and we're not going to comment beyond that. That's all you have to say.
I get that, especially if I'm a player. We're talking about a player. But if I'm looking at Lawrence Frank, and this is the line, I'm going, okay, there's an investigation, but can you give us something that explains what's happening here? You could say, look, I can't get into the nitty gritty. They're going to look at all the files. They're going to look at the payments, everything else. But this is our position about what happened. Instead, it's we're very confident. We're so confident. And now we have the NBA looking into this, which I got to say, yes, it's a legal matter, but it's a little fake right now. This isn't the Justice League. This isn't Uncle Sam. This is the NBA. This is the NBA doing this investigation.
There are real ramifications, though. That's the point. The point is there are real consequences to this investigation. No one's going to jail, but people are going to lose money and perhaps lose ability to improve the team in the future. And you don't want an offhand comment made because you're playing fast and loose trying to prove, because again, I was shocked that he spoke to Ramona Shelburne, Steve Ballmer did, after the first episode dropped. I would have been like, absolutely not. because it's too much.
I get what you're saying from the team perspective. This is certainly how I'd approach it from the team perspective. I guess what I'm saying, is from the journalist perspective or the reporter perspective, should that be good enough? And I feel as though it should not be good enough.
Well, of course. All you can do, though, is continue to ask questions, get stonewall answers, and quite frankly, wait for Pablo to do more reporting. Because he's got the end. The reason, that's the thing that kills me about everyone who's criticizing the veracity of this reporting because, quote unquote, why would they be so sloppy? Why would they be so stupid? I'm like, this wasn't sloppy. This was incredibly sophisticated. The only reason why we are where we are is because a literal domino effect of things that needed to happen, right? Number one, the company needed to be a scam.
Yeah.
Number two, the scam needed to run out of money. Number three, Kawhi Leonard needed to be the type of guy, Steve Ballmer needed to be the type of guy who's not going to just let it go out. I'm like, well, I have enough money to throw at it to keep it alive long enough to make see this thing through. Number four, when they declare for bankruptcy, Kawhi Leonard has to be the type of guy who couldn't just let it go. Right? And that's part of the episode 1 reporting is we did a profile of Kawhi Leonard, what kind of guy he is. He's a dude, in many ways, we would praise him. Like, this is how pro athletes should be. Very frugal, very, about their money, making sure that every dollar is accounted for. To the point where he complained about his Wingstop coupons not being active. To the point where he drove the same car that he drove in college. These are all things that we would applaud. Like, good job, man. Way to be smart with your money. But that extremism led him to declare himself a creditor for the money owed to him by aspiration. And that needed to happen. And then finally, and this is the biggest part, Pablo Torre needed to spend 7 months gaining confidences with people who worked all up and down this organization, Aspiration, to get them on the record to talk about this. And that's the part where, no disrespect to the Ramona Shelburns and to the Shams Charanias and whoever else is a newsbreaker out there, who I believe would love to have a story like this. They don't have that connection. They don't have 7 to 10 people who work for Aspiration. So all they can do is wait for Pablo to release more information because he's getting fed by the inside sources.